President.
What?
So I'm starting a live stream right now, so if you're ready to go at 6. Zoom has been having some issues with their servers, just with results still starting so forth. So if we go down, I've got a backup plan to get started real quick. It'll take a while. Get it. But, okay, we're streaming.
It's 6 o'clock. We'll call a meeting to order. First item is roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Buckley?
Here.
Mr. Fritz?
Present.
Mr. Gerke?
Here.
Mr. Meehan?
Here.
Mr. Dan?
Here.
Roy Benton. Dr. Wilson by video and Jim Wilson.
Motion to approve the agenda. There's been a couple changes under unfinished business, discussion about the 16th Street property. And Eric will be back in time to do the annual privacy training, so reschedule it. If there are no other changes, I'd take a motion to approve that agenda.
So.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Has everyone had a chance to look over the minutes from the previous meeting? If there are no additions or corrections, I would take it. They will stand approved as presented. Public comment. Nothing's been sent in. Officers report, CFO report.
Hello, can you all hear me okay? Okay, so it starts on page 4. We have the bank balances this time versus last time. Just down slightly as we are usually at the end of the month. Page 5 is our cash reserve analysis, last meeting versus this meeting. The unpaid bills is off a little bit due to that additional bill I got today, but it's pretty close to down about a week in cash reserves. Pages 6 through 8 were the check registered. Anybody have any questions on any of that?
Yes. Mrs. Lorraine, on page on page 4, we got ambulance vehicle replacement, 271,000, and then on page 6, we paid 215,000. Did we not take it out of that particular account, or how was that handled?
Yeah, we haven't moved it yet because there's still some expenses that haven't been paid for. The radio and the installation of the radio hasn't been paid for. So we're going to get the total and then move the entire amount.
Makes sense, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we should have those values probably next week.
Okay.
So I did give you guys replacement bills pages. I think Mr. Fritz probably handed those out to everybody. That replaces pages 9 through 11. That Mutual of Omaha bill doesn't come out to the 21st. So, and it really doesn't come out on the 21st. It says the 21st, but then it's available 24 hours later. So I had to get that in there because that's due by the end of the month. Anybody have any questions on any of those bills?
Is that the only change, Mrs. Woodward?
Yeah, the only change is just the addition of the Mutual of Omaha. We did submit a request for CARES funding to the county commission. They're still looking at those. They haven't made any decisions yet. So They couldn't give me a date when they were going to make decision today. They called and asked a couple of questions. So we're just waiting on that. There isn't any questions on the bills. That is the end of my report.
This custodial agreement that Wood Houston sent, that just needs a signature.
Correct.
It's just something they didn't have us do when we filled out the paperwork apparently.
Yeah, I guess somebody else in another department realized they needed that depositor agreement. And I think the other one was to pledge collateral if we got over our FDIC limits, which we shouldn't, but I guess I just want to do that just to make sure.
Is there any other questions on the CFO report? If not, I'll take a motion to approve payment of outstanding bills.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. And I believe Roy is going to do the chief's report.
I have just a short one. The new ambulance is sitting outside. If you guys want to take a look at it and get done, it got delivered today. The fair is done. EMS ran 11 calls total for the entire fair, which is probably a record low since maybe the 60s. I don't know. But out of that, we had about 3 transports to the hospital. So they did identify one case in the fairgrounds of COVID-19. All the staff that was tested at the fairgrounds for the fire EMS were all 100% negative, and we were all tested twice. So near miss, a little bit of a scare, but we came out of it okay. So other than that, I don't really have anything else to report to you guys. I didn't get a chance to really gather any numbers or anything else like that, but Chief will get you guys caught up next week. You guys have any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Do you have an idea of the 11s that actually were ran? Was it because somebody fell down some steps or?
Most of the stuff that we had was heat related.
Heat related?
Yeah, oddly enough, the nicest years ever for the fair. We had some heat related incidents, and then the couple of traumatic injuries, people versus cows and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
But nothing too terrible serious. So, but yeah, no, it was record low.
I don't know when would be appropriate, but do we have an update on the 911 central dispatch meeting?
Eric was going to talk about that a little bit, but since he's not here,
We'll wait.
the ones that were there, there's 3 of us attended, and we can talk about it a little bit. Basically, they were just going over some logistics, trying to finalize the final draft to send out. And it was time consuming, but basically it's some of the responsibilities that the county commission would have is basically what they covered that afternoon.
Okay.
And Eric, as of this afternoon, said he had not got a final copy of that press draft yet. So if you guys have anything to add, yeah.
The only thing that I had a real discussion with him about was the monthly or yearly cost that was going to be laid on us. And I was going to go almost $15,000 more for the services than what we're paying for now. And I would prefer him to come in and explain what is expected to be different to enhance, to make that $15,000 what we're paying for. Right. And he's got it pretty much laid out. I spent a good half hour, 45 minutes with you, up and down, this, that, and the other thing. So I think when he brings that package to us, I think if he lays it out to us, it would probably be acceptable for that amount of money. But, there's going to be more the biggest thing to come out of it is he's going to have more control and more input into the dispatch center than what he has now.
Right.
And that's worth some money.
Who is he? Who are you talking about?
Eric,
Okay.
the chief. It's basically, from what I've read it and listening to the rhetoric going back and forth, it's a county city show. And we're sort of a tag on. But when it comes down to basic operations, our portion of the operations are going to be closely monitored by him. So it comes down to making sure the dispatchers are trained to do EMD or emergency medical dispatch, you know, and hold their feet to the fire. It's going to be interesting. I think they said they're going to have 7 stations down there. As to, they're going to have 7 people on per shift, or 6 on that supervisor. So the biggest thing of it is for us is control over the medical dispatch. And we already have capabilities now of talking to the police and talking to the fire on our radio system. But as it works for protocol, they go through the dispatch center. Let's say, policeman come to me right now, you know, you call dispatch center, we need a cop. You know, dispatch center shot across the room or whatever. Yeah, people send one, you know, you do it or somebody do it and whatever. Should be a little bit more tightened up with a better protocol.
So did I understand you, the additional cost to that's $15,000 a month?
$15,000 a year.
A year additional.
Yeah, we're slated to pay $150,000 a year. This is for first year operations, whether it's gonna go up and go down, who knows? Everything I gleaned from that as to what the tax revenue is gonna be. This is one of the things that the tax revenue is going to be paying for. And, the players, I think, the city pays $300,000 a year, the county pays $200,000 a year. And I have to look at the paperwork to see who, you know, blank, 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 who's paying so much. Some people aren't paying anything. They may pay for, depending upon the call value, like the volunteer fire department,
That's what
they're not charged right now.
the county commission's taken up that part. They have actually had $200,000 increments, and one of those $100,000 increments is to cover the small volunteer fire departments or that simply just don't have the money.
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
with regard to that revenue stream, and I think I've been vocal about this before, is that we should not be spending the money the taxpayers have given us to pay for our dispatch. I think should operate independently on its own. There's a law in the state of Missouri. It's under Chapter 190. And it's a function where a tax is dedicated to that. Entities like us today, police, city, fire, don't bear the burden of taking taxpayer money and another unfunded mandate. So I would urge the committee, any members that get involved with this group to in the future to consider that avenue.
So you're saying there's legislation right now?
Right, under Chapter 190 of the Missouri Revised Statutes, which is under the ambulance district as well. 911 combined dispatch and our laws are all mostly under 190. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there anything else?
I do have a question for the
Yeah.
deputy here. Plans, target dates, et cetera, for what's going to go on with the new Band-Aid budget?
Well, right now, our radio guy is out sick. He's probably gonna be out of commission for the next 2 weeks. Once he gets back, we'll finish up the radio install. It's already halfway there. And then I'm targeting October. Hopefully before, but try to get some buffer space for unanticipated issues.
I mean, and I think where we could probably make that happen sooner, but it'd be an additional expense on the, getting the radios installed, pretty tall expense, is that probably correct if we could?
I mean, it depends who we use to install radios, but I mean, it's $75 to $100 an hour labor rate, you know, and then you shouldn't need any parts, but you're able to probably need
Well,
parts.
who installs them? Who installs them?
Right now, it's one of our guys who works for us.
Or we just pay him his hourly rate when he goes?
Usually does it while he's on shift or maybe when he gets off work. He'll do it. But does a pretty decent job. And he enjoys it, so.
I'm talking $800, $900 just to install a radio in an ambulance, if we take it somewhere else minimum.
Right. But it'll give us time to finish up some other things. We gotta get the computer ready and get some other stuff installed too. So I mean, it should all line up. And like I said, I anticipate earlier than that, but we'll buffer space for the oh gosh. And I would say October 1st, if we run into that problem, so.
And that unit's sitting out back.
Yeah.
Right. Roy can show it just after the meeting. Thanks, Roy. Medical director's report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We were able to, I think we got off pretty lucky with the state fair, with only the one case that was among our employees. And the fact that we were able to avoid infecting anybody, you know, it was just the one person. And they tested everybody else that was there, and we didn't spread it around among us. So I think the steps that we took to protect each other was a phenomenal response by the folks that were working there. Because it was State Fair Fire, there were some people down in Jeff City that got involved, and that was it was to be expected, but everything was resolved to their satisfaction as well. And it was, I think the 4-H show was considered successful as well. And I haven't heard of any increase in outbreak because of that. So I think we dodged a really big bullet there. As far as State Fair Fire for next year, there's been some shuffling of personnel, and actually Roy has been appointed to be the, I guess, EMS director. Is that the right title, Roy?
They call me EMS captain, but it's essentially the same thing.
But anyway, he and I will be working closely again next year with this. So, and I am very much in favor of that move. I think Roy is going to be extremely capable to help coordinate the activities and the just the lineup of our State Fair Fire personnel. So unless there's any other questions, that's all for my report tonight.
Thank you, Doc.
Does anyone have any questions for the doctor? Thank you, doctor.
Okay, you're welcome.
Strategic Planning Committee, they proposed some date for starting committee meetings in the first part of September. So hopefully by the last part of September, we should be able to have some to share with you. Unfinished business, discussion on the 16th Street property. This is about it just a little bit at the last meeting. If anybody's got any ideas, if you want to go ahead like we are, just with the economic development, or want to pursue a realtor to work with. What's everybody's thoughts?
I have a question.
Yes.
There's a sign out there.
Yeah.
That somebody put up.
Yeah, we did.
We got 2 signs out there now? Okay, there's the one big sign, it's got economic development and everything else. But as you're going west on 16th Street, you look over there and it says for sale, 4 acres with a phone number.
That's not our property.
Okay,
That's the joint property.
Correct.
okay. They still haven't done anything to clean up the sidewalks and street access.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I was thumbing through my file here, but that could take a while, but did we not get some leadership or guidance from Mr. Foster on how we ought to approach that? I mean, I'm totally from memory here, so I don't know, but I was thinking we had some sort of outside guidance on how to move forward.
I don't recall that, but we could certainly ask him that question. And that may be probably the best place to start.
I don't think they want me to read this, but here's his report. It's numerous pages.
What report is that? Oh,
And I recall that it's like about the time we had that appraised.
Yeah, I wish that it had a date on it, but it doesn't, unless it's maybe on the last page. It doesn't have it on the front.
that's the appraisal.
No, it's.
No, this is a multi-page report or like a 12-page summary of building, a legal perspective, acquisition of land. And I think at the time he pointed out that not all of this applies to what we want to do, but there are certain sections that did. So, you know, maybe before we take any action, we need to pull this out and just have another read through what this says.
We could redirect the question at him specifically about moving forward with that.
If this doesn't already address it, yeah.
And that might clarify sorting through that. We can do that.
Yeah, I don't know what type of, I mean, what type of questions would you have for him as far as what contracting with someone to pay them to sell it?
Yeah, how would we proceed? So do we bid that out or can we just?
Well, I mean, the way it works, Mr. Chairman, the people that do business committees, realtors, they don't get in the bidding war. They all charge the same thing. That is not a negotiable item with many realtors. I've never heard it to be. I don't know the value you get then from that is their experience with working with buyers. That has value. So, I mean, you know, I think the discussion going back to us is using due diligence is that we do is that, you know, we feel that we decided that we want a net of value of 1.2 million and we would put their commission in on top of it and build it in that manner as an expense. So, but that, I mean, that would be the option that we all began to talk about. Discuss, everybody knows a realtor, and we started scheduling realtors to come in here, and I don't think that was the way to do it. I don't know, we just, I don't know how we pick one. It'd be tough to interview every single one in this community, it's like lots of them, I mean.
Well, there's a lot of realtors.
Yeah.
That are not qualified. Some would be better at handling that.
Exactly, and then you look for expertise in that arena. And, you know, and it's pretty, you guys understand, I mean, we don't pay anything and we're not expecting, I mean, there's no fees for keeping the situation with Pettis County Economic Development today, Pettis County Economic Development. And,
Yes.
Could you give me the history on how we acquired that land and how we came up with 1.2 million is the value? I'm not, never done any real estate stuff. I don't know how that works.
Well, the people that were involved with purchase of that, there's none of those left here, so I think they gave 630,000, I believe. We had it appraised for 650, I believe. I believe you're correct.
615.
615, yes. And with discussion of the board, we believe our thoughts were it should be worth a lot more than that. Would bring more than that. So that's basically where we came up with the 1.2.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
there was one thing, we can always come down, we can't go up.
Yeah.
You know, and that may be a touch of an inflated number, but I don't think so, really. We'd hate prices 615 if it's worth that.
So that's about twice the appraisal value, then, right?
Mhm.
1.2.
Yeah, and I mean, anybody in the industry, and I talked to a few, just casual conversation, there's definitely blue sky there because of the arrangement is with the fairground, that is the only available large tract of land on major thoroughfare around the fairgrounds that's available. It's it. So,
You know, I think it's prime property. I don't disagree with that.
but that's a very, very, very good question.
The original thought was that they would build the headquarters there, I believe, but since we purchased this here now, and that may or may not be an ideal spot for a satellite station. I think thought is now maybe a little further west, maybe.
Right. And, you know, Mr. Chairman, too, if I may, another option that I mentioned, I don't know if anybody has picked up on it, but it's out there, it's definitely a doable option, is to do some type of trade, barter arrangement, trade our piece of property for somebody else got a piece of property. I mean, there's lots of things that happen that way as well. We take a piece of property and trade it, would be a good candidate for a future station and some money.
We could put this on the agenda again for the next meeting, and we can ask Frank that question, how
If he has recommendations.
if he has any recommendation.
I concur, and I think that's a good suggestion there. Leaving it where it is with economic development today in Pettis County, they have a lot of inquiries on their site. They have a lot of inquiries, period. But I don't know that they're our kind of inquiries. In other words, I'm not sure that motels or hotels check with them. They're more than likely talking to John Simmons or somebody down here at City Hall. But it's definitely not hurting anything by leaving it
Exactly,
with
didn't
them.
cost anything.
Yeah, but I'm not so sure it's getting the right potential buyer there. But who knows? I mean, we didn't, the last offers that we looked at, who would have thought that would be a site for that?
Exactly.
So.
And Mr. Chairman, the thing is having a telephone number on there besides one of ours or the headquarters. And that was the important thing I think that we kind of looked at.
Right.
To keep the inquiry away from us.
We will put that on the agenda for the next meeting and inquire with Frank if he has any recommendations. And we can all continue to think about it and see what we come up with.
And the third item, of course, everybody think about too. The value of putting a street down there. You and I have talked about that. What would be our advantage of incurring that value and putting it on our property? Would we increase the saleability of it? These are questions all again that are beyond me, but I think they're definitely worth exploring.
Thank you. So we have no new business. Is there any announcements? If not, I would take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Move we adjourn.
Second,
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
5,000 calls.
I would pose the question on Doc, if he has a ambulance district shirt for every ambulance district that he helps with, and when he goes on Zoom, he wears the appropriate one.